Hello my loves, 𝐤𝐤𝐿 here and welcome back to my channel.
Hey, listen!
Today you will become studying with me. For my English literature exam. We only write one exam for English because it's my first additional language. I'm gonna finish my coffee and then I'm going to start studying, and I'll see you guys in a minute then. I am going to voice over this video. Very nice of me, I guess. This is the first time I'm doing a voiceover, so we'll see how it goes. I am going to read to you the poems that I am studying. So the first one that I did was The Chimney Sweeper by William Blake. When my mother died, I was very young, and my father sold me, while yet my tongue could scarcely cry, weep, 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 weep. So your chimneys I sweep, and in sooth I sleep. There's little Tom Drace, who cried when his head, that curled like a lamb's back, was shaved. Hush, Tom, never mind it, for when your head is bare, you know that the soot cannot spoil your white hair. And so he was quiet, and that very night, as Tom a-sleeping he had such a sight, that thousands of sweepers, Dick, Joe, Ned and Jack, were all of them locked up in coffins of black. And by came an angel who had a bright key, he opened the coffins and set them all free. Then down a green plain, leaping, laughing they run, and wash in the river and shine in the sun. Then, naked and white, all their bags left behind, they rise upon clouds and sport in the wind. And the angel told Tom if he'd be a good boy, he'd have God as his father, and never want joy. And so Tom woke, and we rose in the dark, and got with our bags and brushes to work. Though the morning was cold, Tom was happy and warm. So, if all do their duty, they need not fear harm. So, in my opinion, this is quite a sad poem, and the theme on Google is misery and death and hope. Our themes was innocence, and I can't remember. I think, as you can see, I did not study very thoroughly, but you know, it is what it is. It's basically just the author is condemning society for, you know, like selling their children and whatnot. Very nice of them. Google states that it is a bleak poem from the perspective of a young boy living in the 1700s London who has earned a living by doing dangerous work of cleaning soot from people's chimneys. Basically, these very rich people had large houses and they had large rooms to heat up with chimneys, and so these chimneys would collect soot and so on, and only small children could fit into these like pipes that were filled with soot, and then they had to clean them. And they were really young children that were sold because this was during like a very poor time. I can't remember which time, but people were poor. Parents sold their children for a profit so that they could feed their other children, and these little boys would go on and clean people's chimneys, and people would not really worry about them because they were tools, as in they were assets that you use. In the same way you would like use a wrench to fix things, I don't know. But basically they were cheap and they were easy to replace. So a little bit about the poet. William Blake was an English poet, a painter and a printmaker. He was born on 28 November 1757 and died 12 August 1827. William Blake wasn't very popular during his lifetime, as in people did not really enjoy his poetry and so on, but now people have found him more and have apparently more enjoyed his work. He was a under the radar figure in history of poetry and visual art of the Romantic age, but he got more popular in the 21st century. The poem is a little bit of a bleak one, but it's fine. It was the first poem we did in our English class. Yeah, it was the first poem we did this year, and thus I know it the best. And if you guys would like to read some more poetry or so on, One of my close friends actually writes poetry on Wattpad, and I know Wattpad is a little bit of a taboo place to read poetry, but I will happily link her for you in the description below. I personally like her poetry very much. I think it's very beautiful. The next one we are going to do is Composed upon Westminster Bridge, September 3, 1802, by William Wordsworth. Earth has not anything to show more fair. Dull would you be of soul who could pass by such a sight, so touching in its majesty. The city now doth, like a garment wear, the beauty of the morning, silent, bare. Ships, towers, domes, theatres, and temples lie open upon the fields, and to the sky, all the bright and glittering in the smokeless air. Never did the sun more beautifully see, in its first splendour, valley, rock, or hill. Never saw I, never felt a calm so deep. The river gildeth at its own sweet will. Dear God, the very houses seem asleep. All that mighty heart is lying still. So this is a sonnet. I believe it's an Italian sonnet. It is romantic literature, and I believe its theme is tranquility and peace, as far as I know. William Wordsworth describing London and the river of Thames, I believe that's how you say it, viewed on the Westminster Bridge in early morning. The reason it is so special and so on is because this was during the era where London had a lot of factories that would pollute the sky with smoke and things like that. So you couldn't see the sky at all. It was that dark, like, mustiness. I think a good representation of this is probably in the Mary Poppins film, but the first one. The first Mary Poppins film, where they go with, I can't remember the guy's name, but where they go to the chimney sweepers to find their way home after going to the bank, and then they just walk through this dark alleys that is covered in smoke. And I think it's the industrial age. I suspect, don't quote me on that, but that is, I think, a good representation of that, because that's how I like visualize the entire thing, because I am apparently all-knowing as a grade 11 student. The poet describes a man on his way from London to France, I believe, and on his journey in early morning, he is looking out upon the scene on the Westminster Bridge. I suppose he was on a bus or a train or some form of transportation, you know, your usual things. That is basically the gist of the poem. So, a little bit about the poet. William Wordsworth was born on 7 April 1770 and died 23 April 1850. So he was an English romantic poet. And apparently he wasn't as non-liked. He was a little bit more liked than William Blake, I believe. And I believe his most famous poem is The Prelude, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. The Prelude, or Growth of a Poet's Mind, an autobiography poem. So that's thus far everything about this poem. Okay, so that's all the poems that we have done thus far. And thus far, all our poems in English have been quite depressing and have darker themes than others, because I don't know why. Even our book that we have to read for this year, it is called Dreaming of Light, and it's also quite a sad book. I believe that is it. I'll see you guys in like a second. And there we have it. I only ended up revising 2 of my poems, but I realized I wasn't concentrating at all, and I was just writing it over and not registering what I was writing, so, but that's okay. And all my socials are down below in the description if you would like to follow me on Instagram. I am in with a B there as well. I am in with a B on most social media platforms. Every now and then I need to find a new one, but you can find me under that name under most social media. And then, yeah, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.